How's it going, y'all? So I have been called for a while now to start speaking about my journey, my path, walking the good red road, as it's called. I'd like to give a quick thank you to Carol Whitewater Dawn, Cliff Winter Fox Buchanan, to Bearheart, to Michael Three Bears, Susan Murray, Virgie, to Brett, Gerald, to the Quero Huascar lineage, Shane Carter, Michael Burdick, Mirjana, Andres, to all my high-dimensional guides and beings, to the archangels, to all have supported me on my path. And just want to kind of start from the beginning here, I suppose. So I'm just going to go ahead and go in. And it's been weighing on me heavy for a while now on where to go with this, but I have been feeling called by Great Spirit to speak my truth to the people, in case there's anybody who has followed a similar path, who may be going through similar things that I've gone through. And I just want to put myself out there to let you know that you're not alone, and that I understand what you're going through. And if anybody who has been dealing with a lot, whether that's spiritually, emotionally, physically, any kind of healing, I'm here for you, family. For me, my journey really started when I want to say probably 7 or 8 years old, going to the Gathering of Circles for the first time. It is a spiritual gathering that happens in Cloudcroft, New Mexico. It was started by the Rainbow Bridge Clan. Includes workshops, sweat lodges, the sacred pipe ceremony, sharing of knowledge from all different walks of life and paths. And it's very near and dear to my heart. My grandmother, my grandfather, and a great many others put themselves out there to the world, risked persecution, hatred, a great many things to stand for the people, to stand for Pachamama, for the Mother Earth, and for all that is right and just. And I remember walking among the trees and hearing them speak to me, and hearing whispers of past lives in my lineage and of what was to come. I remember walking through fields of 4-leaf clovers and butterflies and feeling the magic once again, really touching with the deep part of our soul that we had once known and forgotten. And sitting in my first sweat lodge was a children's sweat, a young man's sweat. I believe it may have been co-ed. I'm not quite sure on that. I can't remember clearly. But I remember going back into the womb space of the Great Mother and feeling the truth of where we come from, and feeling her heartbeat within me and within all things, and feeling for the first time again that we are all one, that we are all connected and indivisible in every way. To sit in that darkness and to hear the wisdom of the stone people, the grandfathers and grandmothers, of Ninataita, the fire from which the stones are heated to bring into the lodge. All aspects, from building the lodge from the very beginning, building the fire in a sacred way, honoring the four directions, all of the animals, the creepy crawlies, the four-legged creatures, the five-finger beings, the birds, all of the plants, the sacred herbs and teachers, the spirit of the wind, the rain, the waters, feeling those spirits once again coming back to teach us, to touch with us, to hold our hand and walk us home. And shortly after, I believe the next day, I sat with my grandfather and a great many other of the elders, Mike Kelly, among those, Tom Casey, some wonderful, powerful medicine men. And I remember speaking things I didn't know of, having ancient knowledge come to the surface again, and remembering what we come from, the divine nature, the sacredness of this experience. And I thank them, all who have helped me on my path, deeply. It's been a great honor. It's been a tumultuous, long journey of finding my way back to that knowledge. I had gotten lost along the way. They say you have to get lost to find yourself again. For a great many years I was corrupted and living dishonorably, doing things that one might not be proud of. For a great many years I was drinking my sorrows away, and 18 packs of beer and whiskey and you name it, cocaine, all different types of drugs, everything that's out there, methamphetamine, I mean, you name the drug, I had done it a great many times. It's not something I'm necessarily proud of, but it's something I'm very thankful for all of our mistakes and our mishaps are just learnings along the journey, for there's really no such thing as a mistake. You're just learning a way that didn't work out trying to find your goals. And as long as you continue to learn and grow, then it's a blessing. All lessons are blessings. And I find myself coming to the realization that all of the most difficult times in my life is what has been helping me to find myself and to lead me back to my truth again. I hear my grandmother talk to Great Spirit, and she told him, if you send him in and put him through the fire, he will rise to the occasion. And that is what all this polarity and this dimension and this state that we're in here on this plane is for. It's to make us realize both the light and the dark is within us. We are the center in which both of these things are experienced. We are the sky in which all the clouds of emotion and experience pass through. I spent probably a decade and a half of not knowing who I was, being lost, moving from city to state to state to state, going deeper and deeper and deeper into the darkness. And now I look at that and I'm so thankful, because if I hadn't looked at those aspects of myself, I would have never been able to understand my own divinity. They say whatever traumas and hardships that you go through is the opposite of your true vibration. So when I was a child, I went through being persecuted and ridiculed and made fun of, and by my family, by my father, by many people in my life, made to feel never good enough. When in my heart, I have always been good enough and will always be good enough. And that is part of the polarity of this dimension. You must hold the container of your greatest joys opposite in order to be granted those back in return to you. And it took a great many years for me to come to that realization. And my story really begins again when I started down the Q'ero, the Huascar path, the shamanism journey that I had taken with my brother Shane Carter. We learned a great many things from our teacher at the time, Andres Villa, who had been working for a church. At the beginning, we weren't working for the church. We had just decided to go into ceremony. We had been experimenting with DMT and many other drugs, LSD, psilocybin, other medicines, as we like to call them now, and touching spaces that we were unable to really comprehend and work with. And this would include having visitations from Archangel Michael, from Ganesha, from shape-shifting into Otrango, the jaguar, seeing through its eyes and not really understanding what was happening, to the point of almost a deep fear in certain scenarios. There was one journey that I took off of N,N-dimethyltryptamine, DMT, where I was shot out of my body in what felt like a cannon or a freight train up to infinity. I remember standing before a group of beings that were, seemed like they were 30 to 50 feet tall. And I felt like a telepathic communication from them. They felt like the guardians of the universe or the guardians of the galaxy in some form. And they just asked me, "Are you ready?" I was with them for a while, and then zoof, back into my body. And having experiences like that with no context, with no tools with which to work with them it's quite daunting, to be honest. And I kind of sucked back into my shell. I got afraid. I wasn't prepared for this at the time. And my good brother Shane decided to go on that journey prior to me. And he had been hearing callings of shamanism and to reach out to different people about doing ayahuasca and journeying in that way. And I thank you very much, brother, for all that you've done for me and for the people. He ended up going to a retreat, a sacred medicine retreat, a 4-day retreat where we did ayahuasca, psilocybin, Niños Santos, as we call them, the children's saints. They did San Pedro, which is a mescaline. It's the active ingredient that would be in peyote, in Peruvian torch, a very sacred father medicine, the masculine that would come in, as ayahuasca would be the mother, great mother. And we also would do the 5-MeO-DMT, Bufo alvarius, which is, as I understand it, the most potent hallucinogen known to man. And after his experience there, he told me about a class that they were having, a shamanism class, about learning all about that and the path and the lineage that they were working through. And at the time I was like, well, sounds like a cult. It sounds like a bunch of crazy people. If you ask me, it sounds like you're about to get gypped and somebody's going to take all your money, and I don't really trust any of this. But I watched him, and I watched his evolution and his growth. I watched him rise from the darkness in the places that we had been for so often, so many nights of partying, of staying up all night on drugs and drinking and throwing our lives away, our potential, not standing and being who we were supposed to be. And I had decided to go ahead and join in on the next round of the shamanism course. But as it got closer and closer, my ego was like, this is not for me. What am I doing this for? It's, again, coming with those fears, those problems in my mind, the lack mentality of never feeling good enough. Who am I to be someone so sacred, to be a shaman or a teacher, or to learn these sacred ways again? I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel good enough. Luckily, I had the support of those close to me, specifically my brother, Otorango, by his medicine name, Shane. He said, brother, this is the most important thing you can do with your life right now, is find yourself again and trust this path and trust these messages that you've been receiving. And that's really how it began. It began when walking, seeing numbers, angel numbers, as we like to call them. First off, very subtly here and there on signs, on license plates, 333, 111, 1111, 123, 1234, all these different signs, and receiving clairvoyance, clairaudient downloads, where it felt like somebody was speaking to you. Like, yes, this is what you should do, and feeling the touch of that magic again, reigniting the spark inside of us, inside of me, that I hadn't experienced since I was a young child. And I had began the class, which consisted of a great deal of early childhood regression therapy and trauma, going back and really doing a deep dive on your own childhood and on everything you've been through, on where you really are at, writing letters to yourself on truthfully the state of where you are with your family, with your job, with your life, with your happiness, really touching in with yourself in that respect there. And learning from the Q'ero and the Huascar lineage and the Hindu knowledge as well, among a great many others. And as we began doing ritual work, which would include 7-day, 14-day, up to 40 days of these rituals, and I started wondering, why am I doing this? It felt like I was getting nowhere, like I was doing nothing. Again, that's, I believe, my ego was coming down, trying to keep me in my comfort zone, keep me from the healing that my soul knew was so necessary in this lifetime. For as you approach these areas that you have buried inside you for so long, you know that the growth is going to be painful, and your ego doesn't want to experience pain, this perception of you that you hold inside yourself, of these memories and all the things that you've been through in this particular incarnation, and you think that that's all that you are, and that if you expand that or change that, you would lose yourself, or that part of you might pass on or might die, might no longer exist. But in my experience, it's more about working with that part of yourself and raising the vibration of that part of yourself, and letting it know that you're not trying to kill it or take it away, that you're going to bring that with you. Brother Matthew, I'm not trying to take anything from you. I'm not trying to take you or to leave you behind. I'm trying to bring you with me. And as you expand your comfort zone, you become more comfortable in a wider array and range of experience. It actually opens you up to feel more comfortable with the diversity of life. And when I really began to believe again was when we did our first initiation Kriya. It's a 3-stage breath work where we do Ujjayi pranayams, which is ocean breath. You breathe through your nose with your mouth closed, as though you're trying to fog up a mirror. Very deeply, first into your stomach, the first stage. And the second stage would be into your heart. And the third stage would be into your third eye with a specific hand placement. And we would do what is called Bastrika, or bellows breath, where you're reaching up to Taita Enti, the sun in the Kero tradition, and pulling down prana into your being, letting that golden light and energy shower down upon you. Then the final stage would be Parasmaradi breath, and that is a multi-stage breathing of specific number of breaths and changing speeds. So it would start with it's very slow, and then periodically would speed up faster and faster and faster. And that's the thing, my friends, is our breath is medicine. We are our breath. Our breath is the closest thing to Great Spirit. Where you can live weeks, maybe even to a year or more without food. If you have the nutrition on your body, you can live days, maybe weeks without water, but without breath, there's maybe minutes that we would have. And as you breathe into your system with this knowledge and with this presence, you start to feel the breath work its way into the areas of your body that need that healing. We had done a 5-day fast of food, just a water fast, leading up to the first Kriya initiation. And before that initiation, we did an initiation rites of passage into the Kero and the Huascar lineage. A very profound, beautiful experience from which afterwards a great many teachers would start to come to your consciousness and to work with you and to remind you of the sacredness and of the mission and the purpose from which we are here. But during the Kriya breathing exercise, I started to lose myself into the first past life regression that I had ever had. And without much knowledge or understanding, it was difficult for me to know what was happening. But I remembered laying in a sarcophagus and having a liquid poured over me as I laid down to rest in that lifetime. Very powerful and profound vision. One of the real first expansive visions of my life. when we have these experiences that are mystical and biblical beyond this extent of something you've experienced before, it's almost more real than this reality that you experience here, this 3D. And it shakes something inside of you deeply. It helps you to remember, as I said, the truth that you had once known but forgotten. But anyways, just want to tell you all thank you for those of you who have listened, who will listen, who would continue to follow me on this path. And I will continue to share each step along the way for anybody who's interested. If anybody has any questions or experiences that they're going through, please let me know. Please reach out. Please ask if there's something or anything that I could do. I am here for you, and I will always be. Your brother, always in honor, in holy grace. No Kankani, Matthew, Maverick, Marasiahe, Iriyahe, Running Wolf, Brother Bear, Bluebird, Eagle Eye, Xavier Sky, Iron Dog, White Buffalo, Thunderbird, Steel Miller, Aho, Matakuyasin, Aho.